So you hosted the Up in Smoke tour?
Hey, man, still to this, shout out to Dr. Dre.
Okay.
Dre changed my life. Still to this day, that's the biggest grossing tour in hip hop history. Still to this day, the #1 selling DVD in hip hop history for the youngsters that may not know. Up in Smoke, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Ice Cube, Warren G, Eastsiders, Mac 10. You got to understand how huge that was at that time in 2000. I always tell everybody, like, just so they know the real story, we were headed towards the end of the Jamie Foxx Show. Jamie Foxx Show was about to be done, and I knew that we weren't coming back for any more years. Jamie Foxx Show, I was on that, but I was on it the last 3 seasons, right? We had 2 episodes left. Dr. Dre called. He's like, Alex, we about to do this tour. It's about to be the biggest tour in hip hop history. I want to do something that ain't never been done before. I'm like, what's that, Dre? He's like, nigga, I want you to host this bitch. I'm gonna do something that ain't never been done in hip hop, where a comedian comes out and just hosts the whole thing. So I had to make a decision. Either finish these last 2 episodes of this epic TV show, or go out with the biggest producer, rapper in the history of this whole game and change my life from here on out. I had to make a decision. I said, well, Dre, I got 2 more episodes of the Jamie Foxx Show. Dre was like, nigga, how much he paying you? I told him the price. He was like, I will triple that. I was like, so what date do we start? 2 days later, Chula Vista. That was the beginning. 49 cities, sold out, 30,000 people every single night worldwide. And I had a little falling out with Jamie for a little bit, but he understood a little later on when he found out how huge this tour was going to be, the magnitude of it, and how that would have helped my career. I'm just being honest with you. If we were in our 2nd season and I was a star on a TV show that was going 2 or 3 more years, the answer probably would have been different for Dre.
Okay.
But it changed my life around. I bought my first house the week we got off the Up in Smoke tour. You know what I mean? 2 weeks later, we shot this movie called The Wash.
Right.
Where DJ Pooh came on tour with us to show him the script and be like, I got this movie I want to do. And then on top of that, this new rapper was about to drop 6 months later that the world ended up knowing as 50 Cent. Get Rich or Die Trying, 14 million albums sold. Dre was like, I want to do a comedy skit on this. If you notice, on that epic album, the most gangster dude on the planet, if you remember, the cover had bullet holes all in it.
Right.
There was only 1 comedy skit on that album. And people throughout the world that knew it was me. All I got to say is Ja Rule hated me for about 5 or 6 years. When Ja Rule found out that was me on Back Down, number 10. Big things come in small packages. Holla. Jeffrey Atkins is my boo. I will slice and dice your ass. Ooh-ta!
That was you.
Now he's like, there, that was me. We purposely left my name off the album because Dre wanted it to look like he really got the actual footage from the gay dude that called Hot 97. So just to tell you the story, Ja Rule did a radio spot, I guess, on Hot 97. Some gay dude, random gay dude, nothing against gay people, called in and was like, all he said was, all Dre let me hear was this short little soundbite. And it just said, y'all better leave Jeffrey Atkins alone. That's my boo. And the motherfucker hung up. And Dre was like, what can you do with this? I was like, where's the booth? It was Eminem, Dr. Dre, and 50 in the booth. I was laughing so hard and they were laughing so hard that I had to turn the mic towards the wall in the booth just so I didn't break character. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were laughing their hard. They're like, this is going to be epic. And who knew it was going to end up being basically the song that pretty much ended his career and ended up being one of the biggest rap albums in the history of hip hop. Dre bought me a pool table and a brand new Hummer. That's all I had to say. So Dr. Dre has been very, very good to me. And I always thank him for everything because that dude helped a lot mold my career. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's just like some LA shit from knowing each other from back in the day, yeah.
So you did the skit on Get Rich or Die Trying. Did you ever run into Ja Rule after that?
I ended up running into Ja Rule about 2 years later at a club in Miami. And it was, I'm a comedian. He's a short little rapper. He didn't go, man, fuck you. He didn't do nothing like that. It was just like, they told me you were the one, nigga. You were the motherfucker. Like, I was just prepared that if he had ever said anything, I'd be like, hey, nigga, it's just jokes. I was just doing an impression. Dr. Dre paid me. I was just trying to be funny. You know what I mean? So I just heard through the grapevine when he found out that he kind of didn't like me because it looked like, maybe I had come up with that. Like, no, they let me hear a skit and they're like, do your thing. Put your twist on it, Alex. And it ended up being the only comedy and the only skit. So when everybody's just watching this right now, they're going to go back and be like, that was that nigga. Oh my God. For years we were saying that shit. So, again, something else you probably didn't know Alex Thomas had something to do with.
So you did the skit on 50's album. Did you and 50 have a relationship after that?
Oh yeah. 50 became my nigga. I actually, when he first came out, I opened up for him like 3 or 4 shows.
Okay.
Like in the beginning of his career and just over the years, we were just always cool, still to this day. Like whenever when him and Floyd were cool with tight, he would bring up the story and this and that. But 50 had known who I was as the stand-up comedian. He was so happy that Dre got me. He's like, oh, that little nigga's funny as shit. You know what I mean? So again, didn't know it was gonna end up. That's been the story of my life, Vlad. So many things that I did over the years. I had no idea who was watching and how big shit was gonna be. Like now, do you watch this Love and Hip Hop New York?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, these 2 new chicks are there. I guess they're called Bad Bitches on Deck.
Right, BBOD.
BBOD, whatever.
Yeah.
They have this new song. All I know is my phone's blowing up. Literally hundreds and hundreds of messages on a daily basis. Them bitches owe you money. Alex, they owe you money. You heard they took the name. So I made something famous about 15, 20 years ago. Tatalicious. When I first met Michael Jordan in a club in Chicago, I'm like, oh my God, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's like, tatalicious. I was like, Michael Jordan knows who the fuck I am. It was a joke on a song that ended up being the #1 video of the year. Ended up being the biggest song of that year. Ended up being Nori's biggest song ever. Ended up being Pharrell, this brand new guy, and it was his biggest hit at that time. Nori, nothing. Homeboy, I came to party. Your girl looking at me. They had me do the little skit. I did it. I had no idea that shit was gonna make me famous. I had no idea that still to this day, people still say tatalicious. No matter where I go worldwide, whether I'm in Australia, whether I'm in Germany, whether I'm in England, London, tatalicious. Like forever I'll be known as tatalicious from that one video. It was cool back then being a comedian that was in all these rappers' videos. The same way a video would run 10 times a day on MTV and BET, they were seeing Alex Thomas 5 and 10 times a day.
Right.
So it would just help my brand. I always like to say I was the first video hoe. I was the first male video hoe because I was in everybody's videos back in the day, but I knew it was just gonna help me out as the comedian.
Sure.
So.
Now, was Eminem on the Up in Smoke tour?
Yes, he was.
Right.
Dude, it was huge. And he was brand new, and I got super tight with M and rest in peace with Proof.
Right.
They loved me to death, and to the fact that the way I used to bring Eminem on stage every night, he ended up repeating, I don't know if he did a song about it or he ended up saying it in all his songs every night. Just imagine having 20,000 people. When I say Detroit, you say what? I say, Detroit, what? Detroit, what? Detroit, what? Give it up for Eminem. So that was my intro for him every night. He ended up loving it and taking it. The thing that made me so strong too, you think about it, at the end of every night on that Up in Smoke tour, Vlad, I was on stage about an hour every night. I was almost on stage longer than the acts because I would have to go up, do 10 minutes, bring up the East Siders. All right, give it up for the East Siders. Go up, do another 10 minutes. Give it up for Warren G. After Warren G, all right, do another 20 minutes before I would bring up Ice Cube. Then after Ice Cube, do another 15 minutes before I would bring up Dre and Snoop. So you know what I mean? It made me super strong as a comedian. I get a lot of the comedians that ask me like, how did you do stadiums? This was way before the Kings of Comedy. This was way before Cat Williams, Mike Epps, Kevin Hart, before all these dudes. I was actually the first dude to take comedy and go in front of 30,000 people. You got to think about it. A sellout.
Well,
I'm about to say.
To be fair, Eddie Murphy.
No, I'm about to say. I was about to clear that up.
Richard Pryor.
No, I was about to say.
Yeah.
In our generation, a sellout for a huge comic was 5,000 seats. Whether it was Martin, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, like places like the amphitheater. 5,000 seats was huge for comics. No one had really gone in front of the stage. Obviously, the generation before us, the Eddie Murphys, the Richard Pryors, but in our generation, no comics are going up in front of 20,000 people.
Right.
It was almost unheard of. I was just doing comedy clubs, 300 people. Maybe a theater, 1,500 people here and there, but never in front of 20,000 people. I had to kind of learn how to be a hype man / comedian, because I couldn't do the same set in front of 20,000 weed-smoking, drunk-ass motherfuckers that I would do at the Improv on a Tuesday night. You got to think about it. I was the only person on that tour that the crowd did not come to see. They came to see Dr. Dre.
Right.
They came to see Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Ice Cube. For the people that knew me from TV, that was cool, but it was a way for me to build my brand and let you know that, hey, Alex Thomas is here also.
Now, any crazy stories from that tour?
Oh my God. I mean, how much time you got? All I got to say is there was going to be a part 2, right? The DVD that everybody sees is majority just all the music and, you know, how the concert went, kind of behind the scenes. But part 2 was going to be all the freak nasty shit that went on, that rock star shit that I had never experienced in my life. But Suge Knight put a big stop to that. Because by that time, you know, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the material, a lot of the music, a lot of the stuff that was going on musically, you know, in the background, you know, it had to be, he was still a part of it even though he wasn't a part of it.
Wait, okay, but Up in Smoke was Aftermath, right?
2001, it was 2001.
2001.
2001, 2002.
Which is Aftermath.
Aftermath, but remember, a lot of those songs,
it's not Death
they were
Row.
doing all the hits though.
Oh, so they were doing the Death Row song.
Oh, absolutely.
Ah, okay.
You got to think, the thing, this is something you probably didn't know. Let me tell you why that, because this is coming out of Dre's mouth, and I'm just translating it to you. One reason why that tour was so successful and it was so huge, none of these superstar dudes, believe it or not, at that time had went nationwide. Because if you remember, 10 years prior, when they were NWA, after all the shit that happened, it happened in Detroit, the entire NWA was banned throughout the entire country to never, ever perform in any live venues because they were thinking violence and Crips and Bloods and fuck the police, so they never were gonna let it happen. So you gotta think about it. Snoop had already been a superstar. Dre was a superstar. Eminem was brand new. But for the fact that they all came together and they finally went to every city in America, this was everybody's first time actually watching Dre, Snoop, and Ice Cube perform in small venues. That's why it was so huge. That's why it was so big. You know what I mean? And that's why it made history. You know, they weren't dudes that had prior in the last 4 or 5 years, even with the Death Row, they didn't really tour back then. It was just their albums were so huge. They would do their spot dates, but never at this magnitude.
Right.
So it was groundbreaking.
What did Suge end up doing?
We did not see Suge once. I don't know if he was in some trouble at that time. All I know is it was predicted that there was going to be fights, murders, killings. You know, there was extra, dude, when I tell you there was Navy SEALs and helicopters over every venue and SWAT vans out in front of everywhere in America, not one fight. Not one problem, no violence, nobody got hurt, nobody got jacked. Everybody came. Well, one reason was because all the white people bought the tickets.
Okay.
We would go places and you would think, oh my God, these gangster, Crip, Bloods, thugs, weed, everything, where's the black people? White people have credit cards. They sell shit out immediately. Black folks got to try to get the hook up. You'd be amazed, man. Down to you would never in a billion years guess what the hottest city in America was for Up in Smoke.
What's that?
Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Out of every city with all these black folks, we were all amazed to see cowboys with cowboy hats and cowboy boots sea-walking, singing bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Dre and Snoop didn't realize how big they were and how huge they were until they went on this tour. They knew, but they didn't know because they had never really interacted. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Crazy.
It was great for me too. And Eminem just killed it every night.
Yep.
He was a brand new dude, so.
Look, I work with them on Mad. Good guys. Good heart. Good guys. Give you the shirt off their back. Is it ironic? Is it a coincidence that most of their friends are white and got white wives? They like white women. I mean,
And they develop envy because they go home. They get out the car with their friend, with their other partner, and he listening to your music. They walk in the house. They girl listening to your music. They go downstairs. The kids doing a dance to your music. Now they are hypnotized with hatred.